Hey guys, welcome back to another Android video from CodingSTUFF. So I have come up with the new series all about Room database, and in this series I'll try to cover everything which is important while creating an application using Room persistent library. So this series will be completely beginners friendly, but as we go deep into the series I'll cover some advanced topics as well. So after watching this series, I think you would be proficient in Room database and feel more comfortable while creating an applications using Room persistent library. Alright, so before jumping into the codes, let's try to understand what Room is, what SQLite is with the presentation. So there are many ways to save data locally in Android device storage. And we can save the data in internal external storage, we can save the data in SQLite database, we can save the data in shared preferences. So for this particular series we are more focused on SQLite database, but sooner I will also create a video or a series on Jetpack data store. Cool. So first let's try to understand what SQLite database is. So SQLite is open source SQL database which stores data to text file on Android devices, and Android comes with inbuilt SQLite DB implementation, so we don't need to use a third-party API or JDBC to have a connection with our database. Cool. So whenever an application needs to store large amount of data, then SQLite is more preferable as it is more structured and provides some easier ways to access or handle the data. Coming to the third point, SQLite is structured query-based database and it is lightweight. We don't need internet connection to access the database, so it is a standalone database, and it supports embedded relation database features. So this relation feature is really hot topic in the world of SQL and SQLite. So relations are kind of saviors when the data is complex. Don't worry, I'll be explaining this relation topic in detail in the upcoming part, so make sure you subscribe to channel for that. So before 2017 there was no Room library, so we will need to write a lot of boilerplate code for database operations such as defining table structures, writing SQL queries and database migrations. And there was no compile time verification of our queries, and we used to get a lot of crashes because of that. And again, yeah, we need to write a lot of boilerplate code in order to convert SQL queries and Java data objects, means that is POJO. So Google introduced Room persistent library in 2017 and it changed the way we access the database. So basically Room is an abstraction layer over SQLite which allows more robust database access while still providing full power of SQLite. So with Room we can do everything that we were used to do with normal SQLite. And if you notice, I have used this modern car here and this old car in before 2017 because this was the older way of doing things, and this is the newer way of doing database operations with Room persistent library. Cool. So there are some advantages of Room persistent library. We get compile time verification of SQL queries, and each query and entity is checked at the compile time, and it also checks the missing tables, so we didn't get the crashes because of this basic issues. Cool. And another major advantage of Room persistent library is it is or it can be easily integrated with live data, Kotlin flows or even RX Java, so we can easily achieve reactive programming with the help of Room persistent library. Okay, coming to the next slide. Here I'll be talking about the projects that we will be creating in this series. So the first project we will cover CRUD operations, type converters and MVVM. So in this video only I'll cover the CRUD operations, all the CRUD operations, and I'll also explain what are the type converters, why to use them and when to use them. And in the next part we will try to convert this project into the MVVM architecture in order to write better codes. Cool. And coming to the next project, the second project, in this project I'll only talk about relations. So we'll cover all the relations, one to many, many to one, and many to many in details. And the last project will be more about how we should write industry level code with the Room database, as we will be using some advanced topics like dependency injection, clean architectures, some of the solid principles, and we'll also learn how we can handle the config changes and process depth. So this third project will be a bit of advanced, and the second project will be intermediate level, and this first project will be beginner. So stay tuned for all the upcoming parts. Yeah, all right, let's jump into the Android Studio now. So first of all, let's have a look at what we will be creating in this video. So I have added few entries here, as you can see, and we have some basic functionalities here, like we can insert the data, we can update these records, we can delete these records, and obviously we can get these records. Apart from that, I have added a few more functionalities, like we can sort this data based on the age. So if I click on the sort by age, these records will be sorted by the person age. And we have another sorting functionality, which is sort by date created, and these records will be sorted by created date. And I have added one search functionality, and we can search through the person name, person age, and person city as well. So if I write 31, so yeah, you can see we can search by the age as well. And if I want to sort by the city, I'll write New Mexico, and this will be sorted by the city. And of course we can sort by the name as well. So let me just write Glenn, and this will be sorted. Cool. And yeah, we can update this record. So let's just update his name. So Phil, I'll write Phil Salt. I'll click on save, and as you can see, this has been updated. Similarly, we can add a new record. Let me just write temp. I'll give him age of 2, and his city will be XYZ. I'll click on the save button, and this record will be saved. So initially we will create this application without any architecture, like raw, because this video will be more about understanding the basics of Room database, and later in the next part we will convert this whole code into MVVM architecture, and we'll understand how we can write Room related code in the MVVM architecture. So alright, now let's have a look at the three main components of Room database. So the three main components of Room, first one is entity. So entity is something like how and what you want to save into the database, and entity represents a table within the database, and it doesn't contain any logic. So Room creates a table for each class that has entity annotations, and the fields in that class, or fields or data members or variables, they corresponds to the columns in the table. So let's have a look at one entity class. So you can see this is data class with entity annotation, and we have some variables here like PID, name, age, and city. So these are the variables, and they correspond to the column in the person table. Right, so for now don't worry about this column info and primary key. You'll get to know about it later in the video. So for now just understand entity as a data class with entity annotation and primary key. So moving to the next component, which is a DAO. So data access object. The name itself suggests accessing the data. Okay, so DAO is a place where we define database interactions, where we write methods to access the database. Cool. And in the initial SQLite we use the cursor objects, but with Room we don't need all that cursor related code, and we can simply define what we want to do with our data with the help of queries in this DAO class. So the example of DAO class is this. You can see if you want to save the data, we have the insert annotation. If you want to update the data, we have the update annotation. Similarly for delete, and if you want to query something, we can annotate the query and we can write the query. Alright, so moving to the third component, which is the database. So the database class, this is the central class which holds the database, and it serves as the main access point for SQLite database. So this class should be annotated with the @database and should extend the room database. So the example of the database class is like this. It is abstract class, it extends room database. Alright, and we have annotated with the database, and we need to pass some parameters there, but don't worry about that for now. So we'll be creating this database class and I'll explain you each and every line of this code, so don't worry about that. So in simple words, you can assume these three components as a, let's take example of restaurant. So you have kitchen in that, you have waiter in that, and then you get the food delivered with the help of waiter. So you can assume that kitchen as a database, and you can assume that waiter as a DAO, and the food that you get, you can consider it as an entity. So this way, all the three components are connected with each other: entity, DAO, and database. Alright, so I have been talking since so long, I guess, and lots of theory. So now is the time to write some codes. So yeah, let's jump into the Android Studio. Alright, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to clone the repository. So I'll be providing this link into the description box. So you need to clone the master branch. So you'll get at the initial of this project. So what I have done already is I have prepared the drawables and some layouts, like for the activity main and for the single item of our recycler view. In order to save the time, I have already prepared these layouts, and also I have added some colors, strings, and some styles as well. And also I have set up the dependency. So we require room dependency, so I have already added it, and also enable the view binding. Cool. So if you run this app, let me just click on the run button. Our application will look like this. Our search view is already set up. And we have this one fab button. Cool. So now let me just close the emulator. So now how we'll approach to this project, what we'll do, first of all, we'll create an entity class, then we'll create a DAO for it, and then we'll create a database class. And after doing this, we will jump to the activities and fragments in order to process the data or save the data. So first of all, I'll click on this package, I'll create new Kotlin class, which will be the data class, and I will name this class as a person. So if you remember, I have already said it, the data class with entity annotation and primary key is the entity class. So first of all, we'll annotate it with the entity. So alright, entity, and you can see it is coming from Android x.room, and here I will pass table name, which will be person table. So if you don't mention the table name, this will take the class name as a table name. So now we need to create one primary key. So we need to annotate it with the primary key, and we need to pass some parameters there. So auto generate will make it true, and then while I'll name it as a PID, and this will be of type int. Cool. So this auto generate equals to true means this room will automatically increment it or automatically create it. So this way this ID will be unique. We can have our own primary key as well with auto generated false, but that should be unique. So we don't have anything unique in this table, right? We'll have the name, we'll have the age and city. These things cannot be unique. So that's why we are using the primary key as auto generate true. So room will automatically take care of it. So then I'll create another variables, which is val name, and this will be of type string. we'll have val age, this will be of type int, and we'll have city, this will be of type string. So this variable names name, age, city are suitable for this particular class, but they will not look good in the table. So what we can do, we have another annotation which is column info, and we can actually specify the different name for this variable in the table. So we can just name it as a person name. So we will access this variable or this person name data as a name variable, but it will be stored in a room with this column info, column name. Cool. So I'll just copy this, I'll paste it over here, and I'll paste it over here. This will be person age, this will be person city. Cool. So the table will be person table, this will be the primary key, means unique ID, this will be the columns. So we'll have the 4 columns in this person table. Cool. So our entity class is done. Now we'll move to the DAO class. So again I'll click on this project package, and I'll create new Kotlin class, and this will be interface. So our DAO should be interface or abstract classes, because room by default or under the hood implements all the functionalities that we annotate there. So this will be interface, just a git thing, so I'll add it. So now we need to annotate it by DAO. So DAO is kind of mediator between our database and our whole application, just a way to communicate with the database. So first of all, we'll create one function to save the data. So we want to save the data, so I'll use one annotation which is insert, and below that I'll create one suspending function. So suspend fun, I'll name it as a save person, and I'll pass the person here. So we need to use suspend function here, because this saving the data inside the SQL database can take some time. So for that we will suspend the function, and when it is done, we'll get the data, or we'll get the results of insertion or updation, whatever the task we are performing. And in this insert parameter or insert annotation, we can pass some values. So I'll pass on conflict strategy, replace. Cool. So what this will do, if you get 2 entries with similar data, this will just replace it. In our case, this will not happen, because room is already auto incrementing this primary key. But in some cases, when you have your own unique ID, this can happen. So make sure to use strategy for it. We have multiple strategies like replace, abort. You can see the strategies over here: replace, abort, ignore, rollback, and none. So we'll use replace here. Cool. Then we have the update annotation. So update, suspend fun, we'll name this function as a suspend update person, and here we'll pass the person. Cool. Similarly, we have the delete as well. So delete, suspend fun, delete person, we need to pass the person there. And we can also delete the data or update the data or insert the data with the queries. So we will try to delete the data with the help of query. So I'll write one query here. So query, and query to delete the data is delete from person table where PID is equals to the PID that I'll pass in the function itself. So suspend fun, delete person by ID, and we'll pass PID over here. So PID type int. So this way we can customize the update, insert or delete operations with the help of query. But in order to know more about query, you need to learn the SQL as well. Cool. So we'll write another query for getting the data from the room. So query, and here I'll write select star from person table. So this will return us all the records that we have in this person table. So I'll name this function as a get all data, and I'll wrap this result inside the flow, Kotlin coroutines flow, in the list of persons. Cool. Right, so our DAO is completed. So if you notice, I have used this suspend keyword everywhere in all the functions, but not here, because whenever you wrap something with the query and its return type is flow or live data, room under the hood launch this into the suspending function or a coroutine. So you don't have to do it manually. Room already takes care of it. Cool. So our DAO class is done. So remember, the DAO is just a mediator between our database and our whole application. Cool. So now our entity and DAO is done. We need to create one database class. So I'll click on this package and I'll create new Kotlin class. I'll name this class as app database. So the database class should be an abstract class or interface. So we'll have an abstract class here, and this class should extend or inherit from the room database, and we need to annotate this with @database. So database coming from the room itself, and we need to specify some parameters here, like we need to specify the version. So initially this will be version 1, and then the entities. So we only have one entity here, so person class. Alright, and we need to create one abstract function here. So abstract fun for our DAO. So person DAO this will be of type person DAO. So we need to make this DAO as an abstract, because under the hood room will create instance of this DAO class. We don't need to do it manually, but what we need to do, we need to create instance of this class. So what we'll do, we'll create a singleton pattern for this class, because we only want a single instance of this class. What the singleton means is having a single instance or a single object of a class. So yeah, we'll try to implement the singleton pattern over here. So we'll create one companion object first of all. So you can see a static block if you are coming from Java background. So inside this companion object, what I will do, I'll have one volatile variable. So volatile from Kotlin JVM, private var. I'll name this variable as an instance. This will be of type app database. This will be nullable. We'll initialize the value as a null. So what does this volatile keyword do? So it ensures that if the changes are made to this volatile variable by one thread, it will immediately make the changes visible to other threads trying to access it. So if the multiple threads are trying to access this value, and if the changes are made by one of the thread, so the changed value will be immediately visible to other threads as well. Cool. So now what we'll do, we'll create one function which will be get database, and here we'll pass the context. So context of type context, and this function will return the app database. Cool. So here what we'll do, we'll first of all return the instance, and if the instance is null, we'll create the instance, and we'll use synchronized keyword here. We'll pass this. So what this synchronized keyword will do here, if one thread is already creating instance of this class and other threads are trying to create the instance of this class as well at the same time, so this synchronized keyword will block the other threads, and this way only one instance of this class will be created. Cool. So now here we will create instance of this class. So I'll create one dummy variable or a temporary variable. So val instance, this will be equals to room dot database builder, and here we need to pass some parameters. So first of all, we'll pass the context that we get from the constructor, and we'll pass the application context here, and we need to pass the database class. So app database class dot java, and lastly we'll pass the database name. So I'll name this as a person database. Cool. And lastly we need to call the build function, and after creating the successful instance of this class, so we will initialize or reinitialize the value of this instance with this instance, and we'll return the instance. Cool. So I guess it's a bit difficult for you to understand this at the first, but just understand that we are creating only one instance of this class. We don't want multiple instances of this class. So yeah, our database class is done. So I'll just close these classes for now. So now is the time to work on the insert operation. So the first thing that I will do, I'll create one new fragment for the bottom sheet. So I'll click on the package and the new fragment. I'll select the blank fragment. I'll name it as add edit person fragment. And now I'll remove some unnecessary code from here that we don't require. So we require the onCreate view, and we'll delete the code inside the companion object. And here I'll write log t to create the log for this class. So it will create me one constant const val tag, and we'll use this tag later in the main activity. And now we need to inherit this add edit person fragment from bottom sheet dialog fragment. So I'll write bottom sheet dialog fragment. Cool. Then I'll create one late init var for binding. So private val private late init var binding, and this will be of type fragment add edit person binding, and I will initialize the binding over here. So binding equals to fragment add edit person binding dot inflate, and we need to pass the layout inflator, and we will return the binding dot root from here. So binding dot root. Cool. So now we'll move to the layout, and I have already prepared the layout for this. So I'll just remove this code, and I will paste the code that I have already prepared. So you will get this code in the description box where I'll provide the GitHub link to this project. So you can copy this code from there, or it's just an edit text, 3 edit text and one save button. So I guess you can also do it. So here we need to write add edit person fragment. Cool. So what we need to do, when user clicks on this save button, we need to save this data, name, age, city, inside the SQL database with the help of room library. So we'll go to the add edit person fragment, and we will override the on view created method, and here I'll call one function which will be attach UI listener, and I'll create that function over here. So private fun attach UI listener, and here I'll call binding dot save button dot set on click listener. And we have these 3 fields in the layout, so we'll get them and we'll store them in different variables. So val name will be equals to binding dot person name et dot text, we'll convert it to the string. Val age is equal to binding dot person age et dot text dot to string, and lastly we'll get the city. So val city, this will be equals to binding dot person city et dot text and dot to string. So now we will have one check if the name is not empty and if age is not empty and city is not empty. Then we'll save this data inside the SQLite database, but we'll not do it from this add edit person fragment or bottom sheet dialog fragment. We'll create one interface for that and let the main activity handle saving the data inside the room database. So here I'll create one interface which will be add edit person listener, and inside this we'll have one function which will be on save button clicked, and inside this function I'll pass one person. Cool. So now we need to pass this interface in the constructor of this add edit person fragment. So private val listener of type add edit person listener. Cool. And then inside this we can create one person. So val person, this will be equals to person, and we need to pass the ID as 0, or you can pass anything you want, because room by default takes care of it. It will auto generate the ID, so you don't have to worry about it. Then we need to pass the name, then we need to pass the age. So age we need to convert it to int, and lastly we need to pass the city. Cool. Then we can call our listener dot on save button clicked, and we can pass the person value over here. Cool. So yeah, for now we are done with this bottom sheet dialog fragment. So now we'll jump to the main activity. So yeah, first of all we'll create one late init var again. So private late init var binding of type activity main binding, and we will initialize it over here. So binding equals to activity main binding dot inflate, and we'll pass the layout inflator. And I'll remove this, I'll pass the binding dot root. Cool. So here we'll have one init function, we'll have one attach UI listener function. So we'll create these functions over here, or we can name it as init vars. Then private fun init vars private fun attach UI listener. Cool. So inside the init class, first of all, let's have one reference or a reference variable for our DAO. So private var DAO, this will be of type person DAO, and we'll make it nullable and assign the null value initially. Cool. So inside the DAO, we'll get the instance, or we'll initialize our DAO. So DAO will be equals to app database dot get database, means we are creating instance of app database class, and we need to pass the context from here. So context will be this, and dot person DAO. So this way we will initialize the DAO. So if you look at the app database class, we are creating a singleton or single instance of this class with the help of singleton pattern, and under the hood room will create a person DAO instance for us, so we don't have to do it manually. We just need to call it, and as we made it abstract, room will create a reference for this. Alright, so yeah, now attach UI listener. Let's just first look at the UI of our activity main. So here we have this fab button, and when a user clicks on this, we need to show the bottom sheet dialog to him. So we'll jump to the attach UI listener and binding dot floating action button dot set on click listener, and here I'll call one function which will be show bottom sheet, and I'll create that function over here. So private fun show bottom sheet, and in this function we'll create a val bottom sheet, a reference of the add edit person fragment dialog, and here we need to pass this, and we'll press alt enter to implement the on save button clicked function. Cool, here we got that function, and with the help of this bottom sheet instance we can show this bottom sheet. So show, and here we need to pass the fragment manager, so support fragment manager, and we need to pass the tag, so add edit person fragment dot tag. So now we'll try to run the app, and we'll see this bottom sheet is displaying or not. So our application is installed, and now if I click on this fab button, yeah, you can see the bottom sheet has been popped up. We have the person name, age, city, and save button as well. Cool. So now what we need to do, we need to save this data inside the room database. So on this on save button clicked, what we can do, we can call the DAO, and we'll use the save person function, and we'll pass the person over here. Cool, as it is nullable. So we are getting error here as it is saying suspend function. So save person is a suspend function, we can only call it from another suspending function or coroutine scope. So we'll create one coroutine scope here, we'll launch the coroutine scope. So for that we need to write lifecycle scope dot launch. So this way we can launch the coroutine inside the activities, or we can create our own coroutine scope as well, but we will use the lifecycle scope here. And here you can also pass the dispatcher, so on which thread you want to run this code. So there are many dispatchers, like we have IO, main, default, and unconfined. So for this particular operation I will use IO thread because we are inserting the data inside the SQLite database. So yeah, now let's just try to run the app, but yeah, before that what we can do, when user clicks on the save button, we also want to dismiss the bottom sheet. So over here we can just dismiss, we can call the dismiss function, and bottom sheet will be dismissed. So I'll click on the run button, and we'll check data is storing into the SQLite database or not. So our application is installed, and now I'll click on this fab button, and I'll write something here. So Mike, and I'll specify his age as a 55. I'll give him city as a ABC, and then I'll save this data. Okay, so we don't have the UI ready for displaying the data, So till then what we can do, we can switch to the app inspection, and here you can select your device and the package. And yeah, as you can see, we saved the person Mike and his age 55 ABC, and his ID is auto generated by the room database. So yeah, this is working. Let's try to save another data. So let me save Jesse, and I'll give him age as a 23, and his from XYZ, and I'll click on the save button again, and I'm clicking on the save button, and you will see the data is inserted over here. So to Jesse and person age 23 XYZ. So our insert operation is done. So now what we will do, we will get that data from the room database and we'll display it inside the recycler view. Cool. So let me just minimize this, and I'll close the add edit person fragment. I'll close the activity main as well. Cool. So in order to get the data, we'll use this DAO again, but before that, let's just have a look at the activity main binding or activity main layout. So here we have one recycler view, and if you look at the layouts, we have another single item, which is each item layout. So in this we have these details, again name, age and city. We have this edit option and we have this delete option button. So yeah, so first of all we'll set some properties to our recycler view inside the init var. So binding dot recycler view dot set has fixed size, we'll pass true here, and we'll set the layout manager. So binding dot recycler view dot layout manager, we'll use linear layout manager here. So linear layout manager, we'll pass the context over here. Cool. So now we need to also set the adapter, but before that we'll create one adapter for our recycler view. So I'll click on this package and I'll click on new Kotlin class, and I'll have one person details adapter. So we will use list adapter here as it has some advantages over our normal recycler view adapter. So list adapter, and we'll pass the we need to pass two parameters here. First data class that we will be dealing with. So I'll pass the person, and we need to pass the view holder class here, and we need to pass the diffutil callback here. So first of all we'll create one inner class for our view holder. So inner class person details view holder, and here we'll pass the binding. So private val binding, this will be of type single item binding, this layout, and this class will inherit from the recycler view dot view holder. Let me collapse the project view so you can see it properly. Yeah, and yeah, we also need to pass the layout here. So we'll pass the binding dot root. Cool. So now we will pass the view holder class over here. So person details view holder. Fine. And now we need to pass the diffutil callback over here. So we'll create one diffutil callback. So class diffutil callback, and this class will inherit from the diffutil dot item callback. And again here we need to pass the person. So person cool. So now it will ask us to implement some implement two member functions or two methods. So I'll click alt enter and implement members. We get these two functions, r items the same and r contains the same. So I have already explained this in one of my video. I'll give you the link in the I button, so you can check out and learn about the list adapter in detail. So I'm not gonna explain the adapter in this video. So here we will return the old item dot pid equals to new item dot PID. So this way diff callback will check if the two items are same or different, so it will boost the performance. And from here what we will return are contains the same, means the content of the new item and old item is same or not. So here we can directly check with the old item and the new item. Cool. So now we need to pass this diff-util callback over here, and this will be happy. So now I'll press Alt Enter and it will ask us to implement some members. So we need to implement these two members on create view holder and on bind view holder. So from here we can directly return the person view holder. So person details view holder, and here we need to pass the binding. So single item binding dot inflate layout inflator from parent dot context, and then the parent, the view group, and then attached to root will be false. So on create view holder is done. Now we need to work on the on bind view holder. So here what we will do, I'll remove this to do and I'll call holder dot bind function, which we will create in a minute. So holder dot bind position. Alright, so now we'll move on to this view holder class, and here we'll create that bind function. So fun bind, and this will take the person. Sorry, I need to write get item at this position. Cool. So here we will set the data. So binding dot person, first of all we'll set the person name TV, I guess. Let's just check it into the layout. So yeah, person name TV. So binding dot person name TV text, this will be equals to person dot name binding dot age TV dot text is equal to person dot age dot to string, and lastly binding dot person city TV dot text is equal to person dot city. Cool. So yeah, our adapter is set for getting the data. So let's just jump back to the main activity, and here we'll have one latent var for the adapter. This will be of type person details adapter, and we will initialize it over here. So adapter equals to person details adapter, and we'll create instance of it. Then we'll call our recycler view and we'll set the adapter. So binding dot recycler view dot adapter equals to the adapter that we created. Cool. So our UI is done. Now we need to get the data. So for that I'll create another function which will be subscribe data streams. And here I'll create that function. So private fun subscribe data streams. So in this function we will be subscribing to our data flows. So that's why I name this function as a subscribe data streams. So let's just move on to the DAO. So as you can see in this get all data, we are collecting the data in the format of flow. So we need to subscribe it, we need to collect the data from it. That's why this function name is subscribe data stream. And if you notice, I have created separate function for this piece of code, like only this piece of code. We can do this, we can write this code in the on create function as well. But why I'm separating them, because try to make more functions as possible, because they reduce the complexity and your code becomes much readable. So you can simply just check the on create, what is happening in the on create. You have one init var, so the function name itself suggests you will be initializing the variables in this init var function. Then attach UI listener means you will be attaching listeners like click listener or something like that in the attach UI listener function. Then you have the subscribe data stream function. In this function we will be subscribing or collecting the data from our data sources, like we can have APIs, we can have the room database, like we have the room database in this project. So again, this show bottom sheet, we can have written this code inside this set on click listener, but I have created different function for it because it makes it more readable. But also if imagine if we need this code in different scenario, like or one case is when we want to add the data or when we want to save the data, we want to display this bottom sheet, right? But there can be another functionality, like we want to update the data, then also we need this piece of code. So we should not write it over here, we should create a function for it so we can reuse that code. So yeah, so subscribe data streams. Here what I will do, I'll write DAO dot get all data, and we don't need to pass anything over here. And you can see we got the collect function over here. So if we write collect, we get the list of the person, but this is giving us error. Again we need to launch this collect in the suspending function or coroutine scope. So we will have one lifecycle scope here, lifecycle scope, not the lifecycle dot launch, and I'll cut this code and I'll paste it over here. And we need another nullable question mark. So yeah, this way we'll get the data. So let's just rename this as a mlist, and from here we can just call our adapter, or yeah, we can call our adapter, and there is one function which is submit list. We can pass this mlist over there. Cool. So yeah, I guess this will work. Let's just try to run the app and we'll see it's working or not. So alright, our application has been installed, and as you can see we got the data. Cool. So this is working. Let's just try to add some more data. So let's say John, I'll give him the age of, let's say 17, and city will be let's type something, and I'll save it. So yeah, we can save the data, and at the real time we are getting the data as well. So yeah, let's just try to rotate the device as well. So we'll see it persists the data or not. So yeah, the data is persisting. So cool. So now we can work on update functionality. So let me just minimize this. I'll close the single item, I'll close the activity main, I'll close the person DAO. So now in order to update or edit the person details, we'll jump towards the person details adapter and we'll have a look at the single item layout. And we got this edit button over here. So it's just an image view with the ID of edit button. So we'll go to the person details adapter, and inside that we have the person details view holder. So here what I will do, I'll create one init block, and inside this init block I will have on click listener on that edit button. So edit button set on click listener. Cool. And we'll create one interface in order to handle this event in the main activity. So we'll pass that event through the interface from this adapter to the main activity. So let's just have one interface at the bottom. So I'll create one interface, I'll give it a name as person details click listener, and here we'll have one function which will be on edit person click, and here I'll pass one person, and in the constructor of this person details adapter we'll have one private val which will be listener of type person details click listener. We'll use this listener over here, and we'll call that function which is on edit person click. And in order to get the item on which edit was clicked, we need to write get item, and we need to pass the adapter position there. So this way we'll get the item on which the edit was clicked. and we'll handle this event inside the main activity, not in this adapter. Cool. So let's go back to the main activity, and you can see we got one error. Let's just go on to that error, and yeah, we need to pass this here in order to implement that listener or interface. So click on OK, and we'll get that call back on edit person click. So when user clicks on this edit button, we want to display him that bottom sheet but with the existing data. So for that, I'll call this function which is show bottom sheet. So this way the bottom sheet will display, but we also want to display him the existing data on which edit was clicked. So I'll pass this person there, and I'll use that person over here. So person, but we don't want to display the person details when user is adding a new data, because there will be no existing data. So we don't want to pass anything from here. So what I will do, I'll make it nullable, and I'll provide some default value, so that will be null obviously. So when a user will try to add new data, the person value will be null, and when user try to update the data, we will display him the existing person details. Cool. So we'll pass this person in this add edit person fragment. So person, and we also want to receive that person here. So I'll have one private val person, and this will be of type person, and this will also nullable. Cool. So here what we can do, we can have an if check, and this will be if person not equals to null, means user want to update the data. So we want to set the data, set the existing data onto the UI. So set existing data on UI, and we'll pass this person over there, and I'll create that function over here. So private fun set existing data on UI, and this will have the person, and here we'll call our binding and person name et dot set text. Here I'll pass person dot name, and I will duplicate this 2 times. So this will be age, and this will be of type int, so we need to typecast it to string. Then we'll have the city, and this is already string. So let's just change this to person age et, and let's just change it to person city et. Cool. So this way we'll set the existing data to the UI, and then when user clicks on this save button, we also need to pass the existing data to the main activity in order to save that data inside the database. So what we can do here, so yeah, name age city, this will be same, we'll get it from the edit text, because we already set the data to the edit text. So we'll get the similar data or updated data. Cool. And what we can do here, we need to pass the person ID if user tries to update the data, because name age we will get it from the edit text. So here what we can do, I'll write person question mark dot PID, and if this is null, we'll get the default value that is 0. So if user tries to update the existing data, then we are passing the person ID, existing person ID, and if user is trying to save the new data, then we are passing the 0 as a default value, and room will take care of that. So now moving towards the on save button clicked. So in order to identify or differentiate if user is trying to add new data or he's editing the data, we need to pass some boolean value here. But yeah, we can also identify that with using this ID condition. We can compare it to 0. If it is 0, user wants to add the new data. If it is not 0, then user want to edit the data. But we should not do it. We should create another boolean for that, and we'll do it over here. We'll pass one boolean is update, and this will be of type boolean. And here we'll pass person not equals to null. Okay, we also have one person here, so we can make it person1 and we can pass the person1 here. So yeah, so if the person is not equals to null means user want to update the data. If person is null, then user want to save the data. Cool. So let's just jump towards the main activity, and yeah, this is giving us error because this and this interface callback is not similar to what we implement. So we'll just pass this parameter over here and this will be happy. So in here we can check if this update is true, then we will call the update function of our DAO. So update person and we'll pass the person, else we want to save the new data. Cool. So yeah, I think this is it. Let's try to run the app and we'll see it is working or not. So our application is installed. Cool. So let's just try to update this John. So I'll update his age to, let's say, 29 and I'll click on the save button. So yeah, the John age is updated. Let's try to update the Mike. So you just say Mike Hussey and let's just try to update his age as well to 55 to 50, and let's just change his city as well, ABCZ, and let's click on the save. So yeah, this is working, and I'll also open the app inspection so you can see what is happening inside the database when we try to update the values. So let's just try to update the John city. So I'll open the John and I'll write New York here, and you should focus on the third row and this city. So I'll click on this save button now and this value will get updated. So save, and yeah, this is updated to New York. So yeah, our update functionality is working, and again what we can do, we can change this text to update when user want to update the data. So let's just go back inside the add edit person fragment, and over here what we can do, binding dot save button text, this will be equals to update, and let's just try to rerun the app, and yeah, let's just click on this update. So we got the update value here or update text here, and I'll also try to add the new data. So I'll give him name as a Sam, I'll provide him age as a 13 and city, let's say California, and I'll click on the save button. So yeah, this person is added. Cool. So our edit and add functionality and retrieving or reading the data from the database is done. So now we are just remaining with the delete functionality and search functionality. So yeah, let's just minimize this, and delete will be simple. We again need to go to the person details adapter, and inside the single item we have this delete button as well. So we can create another click listener for that. So binding dot delete button dot set on click listener, and we need to create another function for delete. So on delete person click, and we'll call the listener dot on delete person click. Similarly, we'll get the item with the help of adapter position, and then we'll go to the main activity. So it will give us an error, so we need to implement that delete member function as well. Cool. And this will be simple. We can just call the, we can just launch the coroutine scope, and we can call our DAO, delete person, and we can pass this person. So let's just launch it on the dispatcher IO. Cool. So delete is that simple. So let's just try to run the app. So I'll try to delete this Mike Hussey, and yeah, it is deleted. So let's just open the app inspection. So we just got the 3 entries here. So now I will delete this John. So you should look on the second row, it will be deleted. Cool. So our delete functionality is also working, and if we go to the DAO, we have another we have also created function to delete the person by using the ID. So we'll try to use it. I'll just copy this and delete person by ID, person.pid. So with the help of primary key, we can delete the data as well. So I'll try to run the app again, and we'll see if the delete by ID is working or not. So application is installed, and now I will try to delete this SAM data. So yeah, our delete by ID is also working. So you can use any of this or whatever suitables to you. If you just have the ID, then you can use this delete person by ID function with the help of queries. And if you have all the data, then you can use this person as well. So it depends on the requirement or the scenario. So now I'll close this, I'll close this, I'll close this, and I'll also close the person DAO. Cool. So now we are just remaining with the search functionality for this video. In the next video, we will use type converters. We'll convert this code into the MVVM architecture, and we'll add the filtering options, 2 filtering options that we have: sort by age and sort by date created. So now we will implement the search functionality. So for that, let's just have a look at our activity main layout. So inside this, we have one search view, and it is wrapped inside the bottom app bar. Cool. And I guess I made one typo here, so for the ID, but it's fine. Let's just go back to the main activity, and we'll attach one listener to our search view. So I'll go to the attach UI listener, then I'll write binding dot search view dot set on query text listener, and here I need to pass one object of type on query text listener, and then I'll click on this object in order to implement these 2 functions. And in on query text submit, will do nothing, so I'll just return false from here, and whatever user types in this search view will get that value over here. So I'll just delete this to do, and as it is nullable, so we'll have a null check. So if new text is not equals to null, then I'll call one function which will be on query change, and inside this function I'll pass new text, and then we'll return true from this function. Cool. I'll create this function with the help of this red bulb create function inside the class main activity, and I'll rename this as a query. Cool. So from this on query change function, we'll call our DAO. We'll call one of our functions from the DAO. So I'll write lifecycle scope. We need to launch the coroutine for that, and launch. Cool. So DAO dot, let's just go to our DAO. So I'll just write the get all data for now, and I'll go to the DAO. So we don't have any function in order to search the data. So what I'll do, I'll create one function which will be fun. Get search from start data. So this function name will make sense in a minute, so let's just wait, and I'll write query of type string. Cool. So here we need to write one query in order to search the data based on this string which user will write inside that search view. So query annotation query, and then we'll write one query. So select star from person table, and I'll write one where clause, where a person name, like the query that we pass in the function, and then this two vertical lines. I'll explain you this query in a minute, so let me just write it first. And then inverted columns on inverted commas, and here we need to write the percent. So what this query means, select star from percent table. So this query is similar to this one. So with the help of this query, we'll get all of the data that is present inside this percent table, and then we write where here. So where, it's kind of condition that you want to filter out your data with. So it's kind of if we have in programming languages. So yeah, so whatever we write after the where, it will be the condition of filtering the data. So our condition is a person name, like is kind of comparator which checks this value matches with this pattern that we provide. And this query is coming from here, from the function parameter. And this two vertical lines, in programming languages it represent or, but in SQL it represent the concatenation. So we are concatenating this query with this percent symbol. So what this percent symbol means in SQL, they call it as a wildcard character. And what does it mean? It means everything. Okay, so this OR operator or this two vertical lines will concatenate this query with everything. So let's say we have some data in our database, like we have Mike 123, we have Mike 450, and if you write Mike inside the search, you will get all of the results. So this percent symbol represent everything. So it will also take 143, 245, Mike, Hasi. So yeah, if we just write Mike, we'll get all of this. So this will make sense when we run our application. So yeah, let's just copy this function and I'll go to the main activity, and instead of calling this function, I'll paste that function and I'll paste this query, and I'll call one function from the coroutines, which is first. So we don't want to observe this data. Okay, so I guess we must miss something here. So yeah, we need to copy this. We also want to return the flow from this function as well. Then here I can write dot first. So dot first will give us all of the data that this function brings for us, and then we'll pass this data inside the adapter. So adapter dot submit list. Cool, and this will be happy. So if you have used normal recycler adapter, then we need to also notify the adapter that a data set has been changed, or yeah, we need to maintain the list for that. But if you use diffutil, we don't have to worry about that. Diffutil takes care of that. We just need to call this function submit list, and diffutil will modify the existing list or it will change it. It depends on the calculation of that two callbacks that we wrote inside the diffutil with our items the same and our contains the same. Cool, so let's just not go deep into that. Cool, so yeah, let's just try to run the app and we'll see how does it work. Cool, so our application is installed and I have added some data in order to understand this query. Cool, so we have the three entries with the Mike name. So we have Mike 145 and hey Mike. Cool, so let me just write Mike here. So you can see we got two results, Mike and Mike 145, but we didn't get the another person name with Mike. So we have hey Mike here. So what this query means, it will check the person name with the if our value is Mike, if Mike with everything. So Mike will concatenate with everything. So we have Mike space 145. So what's important with this query is we need that value at the start, okay, not at the end. So if you have hey Mike, this query will not work. So in order to make it work, what we can do, I'll copy this function and you will see another way of searching the data. So here I'll write search from end, and we just need to reverse this query. So we'll have everything at the start, and then I will have two vertical lines, the concatenation operator. Cool. And let's just copy this and I'll paste it over here. Cool. So let's just try to run the app now. So let's just type Mike now. So Mike, you can see we got two results now, hey Mike and Mike, but we don't got the Mike 145 because that is not matching with this pattern. Okay, so this pattern means everything and after that the query that we type. So the mic, and before the mic we don't have anything, so this percent will represent that, and here we have hey mic, so this percent will represent hey and space, then we have the query. So it will check in the reverse order and it will check from the start. Cool. So I hope you understand the difference between these two. And if you want, when we search mic, we want all of these three items, then we need to combine this query and search through the whole string. So this was the way so this was the way of searching the data from the start of the string, and this is the way of searching the data from the end. Okay, or you can say from the end of this person name. Cool. So let's just now combine this. I'll just copy this and I'll paste it over here, and I'll name this as a get searched data, and I'll pass the query. Then here we just need to write the two vertical lines, the concatenation operator, then single inverted comma and percent symbol. So this query will search the person name throughout the person name, like from the start, from the end, and from the middle as well. So let's just copy this and we'll call this function over here and we'll see if this works or not. So our application is installed, and let me just search for the mic, and yeah, as you can see we got all of the results that contain the mic. Cool. And if I search for hey, we got the hey mic. Then we have the Rob, so let's just search for the Rob. So yeah, this will work. So I hope you understand the difference between these three queries. This is for searching the person name from the start of the string, and this is from the end of the string, and this will search throughout the string. Cool. So yeah, there is another query in order to search the data. Let me just copy it, and there is one not like as well, so let me just write it not like, and we'll change this function name except, and then I'll call this function from the main activity. So what this function will do, it will give us the data that doesn't contain the typed search query. So let's just run the app and you'll understand. So now if I type mic here, we'll get everything that doesn't contain the mic. Cool. And if I write JC here, we'll get everything that doesn't contain the JC. Cool. So I hope you understand this, and if I remove this string, we are getting nothing here, right? Because when we write nothing here, it means the empty string, and empty string is present everywhere in all of the person name, so it will not give us the result. We can work on that. We can just have one condition here. So if the query is empty, I'll just duplicate this line and I'll have else part to it. So if the query is empty, then we can call get search data function. Otherwise, if the query is not empty, then we can call this function in order to make it work. So this is just a workaround. So let me just write the mic here and let me just remove it. We'll get all of the data. Cool. So this is just a workaround. In most real app you won't use this query, but yeah, you should know it. So what query we'll be using? We'll be using this get search data function. So yeah, we can just remove this condition, we don't need it. Yeah, cool. So now we also want to search through the person age, person city as well. So what I will do, I'll just copy this and after this I'll write or and I'll paste it. I'll write or again and I'll paste it. So this will be person age or city. Let's keep it as a person city, and this will be person age. Cool. So we'll combine these three queries like person name, age and city with this or keyword. So let's just run the app and we'll see. So let's just search for the 23 and we got the JC, and let me just type 2 here. So we got everything that contains 2. So person age 12, person age 21, person age 23. Let me just write the city, so XYZ, and we got the JC. So yeah, this is working. Let's just minimize the emulator, and yeah, we are done for the DAO, and these are some ways to search the data from the SQLite database using these queries. Cool. So I'll close the DAO. So our search functionality is completed and it is working, but there is one issue. So let me just show you that issue. So if I search here mic, and let me just drop the keyboard as well. So we got this filtered data, which is fine, but if I delete this mic 145, our list got updated with the recent changes. So it pulled out all of the data that is present inside the person table with mic 145 deleted, right? So this is happening due to this DAO.getAllData.collect, as we are observing the person table in this lifecycle scope. So whatever changes happen on the person table, this will get triggered and it will update our adapter with the modified list. Cool. So even if we delete something or add something or update something, this will get triggered. Cool. So this doesn't look good because we have this mic written on the search view, and we got this data which is not filtered with the mic. So this thing can be fixed in two ways, and it totally depends on the requirement. Either we can remove this search query when the data is changed, when the data is modified from the database, or we can filter out the data again when the data is changed. So we'll see the first way how we can do it. So in this, we'll call our search view. So binding dot search view dot, we'll call one function which is set query, and here we need to pass two parameters. First will be the empty string that we want to present there, and other will be submit. We'll pass the false, and then we can just remove the focus from the search view. So binding dot search view dot, I guess it is clear focus. Yeah. So let's just try to run the app and we'll see this way. So our application is installed, and let me again just search for mic, and if I add something here, so let me just add mic 145 again, and I'll provide his age as 46, and I'll provide the city, and I'll save this. So yeah, we got the updated list, but our search query is removed and it is empty now. So yeah, this is the first way we could handle this case like this, but I would prefer the other way, because we should persist the search query and filter out the data again when the data is changed from the database. So how we can do that? Let's just move on to that. So first I'll comment these two lines, and I'll store this query somewhere. So inside the on query change, again I'll just comment it. So let's just go up here. So what we want to do, when the data is changed from the database, we again want to filter out this data, but we also want to search the data when the query is changed. So we should not store this query inside any just a normal variable, because that data can be lost when there is a configuration changes. So what I will do, I'll create one live data for that. So I'll create private late init var. I'll create one live data. So I'll name it as a search query live data. and this will be of type mutable live data of type string. So live data or mutable live data is a observable which holds the data. This will hold the search query for us, and whenever the changes happen on the search query, it will give us the results where we observe it. So what I will do first, we'll just initialize it inside the init vars. So it will be equals to mutable live data, and we'll give it initial value as an empty string, and inside the on query change we'll post the value of query. Cool. So whenever something is typed on that search view, we'll post that value on this search query live data, and inside the subscribe data streams we'll observe it. So I'll write observe, and I'll pass the lifecycle owner will be this, and here we get that string, right? And whatever we were doing here, I'll just copy it and I'll paste it over here, and I will uncomment it. Cool. So whenever there is a change in that search query, whenever user types something on that search query, so this will get triggered and we'll get the query here. Let's just rename this 8 as a query, and we'll pass that query over here, and we'll get the filtered data. And here what is happening, whenever there is change onto the database, this will get triggered. So what I will do, I'll comment it out and I'll copy this and I'll paste it below. Cool. And instead of this, I'll write search query live data, and if this is null, I'll pass the empty string. Sorry, we need to write dot value here. Cool, and this will be happy. So what's happening here, let's just try to understand it. So first we are observing the search query live data, and this will get triggered whenever user types something onto that search view, because we are posting the value onto this on this search query live data from here, and this is getting triggered from here. So whenever user writes something, we will post that value onto this search query live data, and then we are observing it over here. So we'll get that updated query value, search view query value over here, and then we will pass it to the DAO and we'll get the filtered list, right? So what is happening in this second block, we are observing the person table here, and whatever change happen on that table, we'll get that list in this M list. So this will get triggered whenever there is some change into that person table. So if there is some change into that person table, we are not passing this list, but again we are filtering the list with the current value of the search view query. So yeah, this is the workaround, and this is not the proper way to do it, but yeah, you could do it. And in the next part, when we convert this code into the MVVM architecture, we'll learn the better way to handle this kind of scenarios with the help of reactive programming. So let's just try to run the app and we'll see if this thing works or not. So yeah, our application is installed, and let me just type something here. So I'll type mic again, and I will delete this mic 145. So cool, this is working. And if I remove this, we got the list, and mic 145 is deleted from here. Cool. So let me just write Rob here, and if I delete this Rob, or let me just edit it, and instead of Rob, I'll write let's just write Jamie here, and I'll click on the update. So yeah, and this is working because we are filtering the list with the Rob name, and there is no person with the Rob name. So I'll just remove it, and instead of Rob, we should get the Jamie as a person name. Cool. So yeah, this is working. And so there is another issue which I intentionally did. So let me just click on this fab button, and our bottom sheet is visible now. So if I try to rotate the device, our application will crash. So let's just have a look at the logcat for that. So at the end you can see we got one error, which is the runtime exception. So let's just have a look at the exception. So it is saying unable to instantiate the fragment, added person fragment, could not find fragment constructor. Alright, so what just happened here, we tried to rotate the device and our application got crashed. So whenever we rotate the device or we switch from dark mode to light mode or light mode to dark mode, the configuration changes happens, and because of that our activity recreates. So when our activity will get recreated, it will also try to create object of our fragment, added person fragment, as it was visible when we tried to rotate the device. So let's just go to the added person fragment, and here as you can see we don't have any empty constructor, so our activity will not create instance of this fragment, and we should not pass this kind of values in the constructor of the fragment. But but as this video was more about the understanding room database, I kept it simple, but you should not do this way, so that's why we are fixing it at the end of the video, and you'll also get idea about configuration changes. So let's just make it var, and we'll make it var, and we will give it a value, initial value as a null, and to this one as well. And then I'll override one function which will be on attach, and in this function we can reinitialize our listener. We get the context here, so we can just typecast the context. So add edit person listener. Cool. So again we can just create one function like fun, let's just say set listener, and in this function we can pass one listener of type add edit person listener. Then we can call this listener equals to listener, and then we can call this set listener function in the main activity when we create object of the added person fragment, like this bottom sheet dot set listener, and we can pass this. Cool. So we can also do this way, but what will happen when the configuration changes happen and activity will try to create a new object of this added person fragment, this value, this listener will become null. Then we'll not get callbacks from the save button or update button. So this is a better option than explicitly setting the listener, but this is also not the best option. There are other ways and better ways than this. We could use a view model. We can also use a navigation component for this kind of situations. So let's not go deep into the view model and navigation component, as this video is more about room database. So yeah, let's just fix this issue. So listener, we need to add the question mark here, and this will be happy. And then for the person, what we need to do in order to receive this person from the main activity, we'll go to our companion object, and if you remember there was one code which I removed, so we'll just rewrite that code. First we need to annotate by jvm static, and this function will be new instance, and here I'll pass that person value. So person, this will be nullable, and this will be equals to add edit person fragment, and then we'll use a dot apply function here, and there is one parameter which is arguments. We can set the arguments here. So I'll create one bundle, and again I'll use a dot apply here, and we'll put one value which will be parsable, and the type will be, the key will be person, and the value will be person. Cool. So this is giving us error, so or it is asking us for the parsable, but we are passing person, so we need to make this data class as a parsable. So just extend or implement the parsable. So now this is asking us to add parsable implementation, so we need to override some functions, but instead of doing that I will just use one library, which is this one. So I'll provide this link into the description box here. From here we'll just copy this versions and the dependency, then I'll go to the build.gradle, not the build.gradle, I'll go to the libs.version.toml, and over here I'll paste it. So I'll also cut this, I'll put it above. So we'll go to the top and I'll paste it over here. Cool. And then we need to provide the plugin into the build.gradle app level. So over here, and then we also need to provide the project level plugin as well. So we'll go to the project level build.gradle and I will paste it over here. Cool. So now I'll click on the sync now. So our project is synced. So I'll close all of this, and at the top I'll just write, I'll annotate it with the parcelize. Cool. And this will take care of all of the implementation that we need to make this class as a parsable. So I'll close this now and this will be happy. Cool. So now we just need to call this from the main activity. So instead of calling the constructor, we can just write dot new instance, and here we can pass the person. Cool. So let's again go to the add edit person fragment, because here we need to change few things. So now let's just get the person value from the arguments, as we set the arguments with the help of bundle. So we'll get this value inside the on view created. So here I will have one check which will check for if arguments is not equals to null, and in here I'll get the person value from the arguments. So arguments dot get passable, and here I will provide the key. So the key is person, and the class type will be person class dot java, and this will give us error as it supports the API level 33 and our minimum API level is 24. So we just need to write one condition. So here I'll write if build dot version dot SDK init. So we just need to check if this is equals to or greater than build dot version codes API. This is API level 33, and we'll have else to it, in which let me just copy this one, and we don't need to provide this data class or the class that we want to cast this data into. So previously, before API level 33, we used to get the data from the arguments like this, and now we can specify the class name, so there will be no runtime crashes. Alright, so it is giving us a warning. So yeah, we can lift the assignment out of the if condition. So yeah, this will be same, and this is also giving us error. So yeah, we can replace this if condition with the question mark, which is safe access expression, and the let block. So yeah, that is fixed. So let's just try to run the app and we'll see our issue is fixed or not. So our application is installed, and let's just try to click on the fab button and let's just rotate the device. Cool. So our application didn't crash now. Cool. So yeah, this is working, and let's just click on the edit, and now if we rotate the device, so yeah, our data is persisting as well in the person name, age, and Winterfell of the city. So and our application is also not getting crashed. So let's just try to change the age 25, and I'll click on the update. So yeah, our Jamie and age is 25. So this is fixed, and we didn't go deep into the configuration changes because this video was more about room database, but later in the upcoming parts we'll also cover the configuration changes and how to handle multiple things with that. So yeah, that's it for this video, and in the upcoming part what we'll do, we'll first convert this code into the MVVM architecture, and we will implement the two filtering options, sort by age and sort by date created. We'll also learn about type converters, and we'll also work on the subscribe data stream function. So we will do this in a better way with the help of reactive programming and Kotlin flows. So yeah, do subscribe for that, and if you like the video you can subscribe to the channel. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.